If you want to make real profits, you have to exploit your team. Check it out. Fam, what's up? We are back on the Less Business, More Profit series, Business 101. What is your leadership style? Okay, where are you at as a leader, as a business owner? What are you doing to empower your team or exploiting your team? Which one are you doing, right? It's one of the big questions. A little bit of story time. One of the comments that rolled in over the last couple of weeks was about exploiting people and how empowering can be confused, right, with exploiting your teams. The profits really happen, or at least the shift in my business from a personal standpoint, came when I had the opportunity to start empowering those people that were working alongside with me. Not when I tried to drain every single penny out of their performance. So when I started switching from bottom line thinking to empowerment thinking, the whole game just changed, right? And that's what I want to talk about today. Before I dive in, make sure that you like the video, you subscribe to the channel, look me up on Rafael Cortez, CEO on all platforms, and start a conversation. If you don't agree with what I'm saying, let me know. I want to have that conversation back and forth, all right? If you agree with what I'm saying, tell me why, and let's spark it up as well. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share. And with that being said, what type of leadership are you bringing to your business, right? How are your employees seeing you? And it doesn't matter if you don't have a team of 10, 20, 30 people, right? It can be you and somebody else. That other person, even if it's a VA or somebody that's working on admin or tasky type of stuff, right? What type of leadership are you bringing to the table for them? Okay, think about that. Are you exploiting and are you driving that person to the bone, or are you empowering their performance? And I can tell you from personal experience, empowering goes a lot further than exploiting. I fell into that the old school thought that I had to micromanage people. I had to squeeze every single second out of their performance because they were on the clock. I didn't care, I was money driven. I didn't really care about individual beliefs or desires or purpose. And that was just not in my radar, at the beginning when I started my entrepreneurial career. It just wasn't in the radar. It wasn't something that I was even paying attention to. I was paying attention to me, to the type of stuff that I needed. Okay, what do I need as a bottom line? And I can tell you, sooner or later, if you're in that school of thought, you're gonna fall into the bad habit of seeing people as assets, as laptops, right? And when I say assets, I don't mean that in a good way. I mean that as a material asset. And it's not the way that new business is conducted. I mean, that's very corporate type style. That's why people leave corporate all the time to jump into smaller mom and pop shop style businesses, or going into a partnership with somebody else because they want to belong, all right? They want to belong and they feel exploited a lot of times because their talents are really not appreciated somewhere else. So think about that. How are you running your team? How are you running your operation? And again, it doesn't have to be a big team. You can have a culture if it's just you and somebody else. All right, so do not be confused by the idea that you don't have a culture just because you don't have 50 people working under you. It's not that. A culture is you and somebody else. It's a collective thinking of the people involved in your business. How are you approaching your team? Are you empowering your team to become better, to become faster, to become more proficient, to scale up as individuals? Or are you exploiting your team and draining every single second that you can out of them just because they're on the payroll, right? So think about that for a second and let me highlight the differences. When you're exploiting the company, when you're exploiting the team, there is a collective intelligence. If you have 2, 3, 4, 5 people, however many people you have, there's going to be a collective intelligence of the overall team taking place, right? You can exploit that and drain it, right? Micromanaging is going to be one way to do that. If you're very, very bottom line driven, meaning that you only care about the bottom line, the end result, and you don't stop along the way to notice people, to appreciate people along the way, and you're focused on micromanagement. Right? Those are ways of exploiting your team. Okay, if you're doing that kind of stuff, even if it might be unintentional, there is a degree of exploitment going on because you're seeing people as material assets, as a notebook, as a laptop, and it happens all the time. Where I see it most commonly happen is like when people talk to VAs. Because the personal connection is not there. It's usually over the phone, over Slack, or WhatsApp, or whatever. There's no human connection taking place. It's easier to just, okay, you think about that person as a resource, right? Not as a human being on the other side of that connection. And that's a big mistake. What's happening here is that you're putting profits over people. When you do that, people do not go the extra mile. People do not care enough about the company or the place that they're working in to really show you what they have, as far as talents, right? So if you're doing that kind of stuff, trust me, you're missing out on internal talent. You're missing out on the skill sets that your team already has. Find out, have conversations with them, empower them, appreciate them along the way, celebrate them whenever they do something great, and of course compensate and award them when the merit is there, right? So I'm a big proponent or huge believer in merit pay, merit scale, merit bonuses. That's a way of empowerment. Now, what does empowering your team look like? What does that look like, right? You're aligning with purpose, and I mean their purpose. If you step back and you think about your company as being a vehicle for somebody else's goals, you're going to take a whole different perspective on how you do things, on how you approach things, on the type of people that you bring into your team. The type of, hiring doesn't even become that difficult anymore because you understand what kind of character you need to have within your company to make things work. Now, understand too that when you empower your team, you can create through talent, right? You're creating through people and skill sets that are not necessarily yours. You're broadening your field of expertise. Because you're empowering your team, you're allowing them to shine in their spaces. If you're hiring somebody to do a job for you, let them do the damn thing. Do not get in the way. Do not micromanage. It's more of a training-focused approach as opposed to a micromanagement-focused approach. Or you emphasize your time. You know that your time is better spent creating and improving your training protocols, onboarding processes, compensation packages, incentives, ways of keeping the team together. That's really where your role as a leader, as a CEO, as an owner, comes in at that point, right? Because that whole vision is going to be yours. The whole vision of what the team needs to look like is going to be yours. You can delegate that to somebody else, like a director of operations, and then they have to keep it all together, right? But the ultimate vision is going to be yours. How you design that team to come together and collaborate and elevate each other through the wins, it's going to be up to you. So you have to plant that seed within your team. If you're exploiting your team, if you're just running them to the bone, and you expect people to come in and then put their best foot forward every single day, and go be above and beyond and the extra mile, and they got to be grateful because they have a job, like that shit doesn't work anymore. People want to belong. People want to be part of something bigger, and we can create that space as entrepreneurs. Understand this. Like you might ask me, right? Like, Rafael, if somebody wants to create that space, why won't they just learn everything I have to teach and then go away and do it by themselves? Understand this. Not everybody is wired to be an entrepreneur. And that's by sheer will, all right? Not everybody's willing to put in the work to become an entrepreneur. They don't want the entrepreneur headaches. They don't want the entrepreneur responsibility. Some people, you talk about having an extra payroll under, as their responsibility, they freak out. They don't want that kind of stuff. However, they're extremely talented in all kinds of things. So think about that kind of stuff, right? We can create that space where we empower people to come in and then shine and perform and do their thing, and yet everybody's elevating at the same time. So how do you empower the team? The big question, right? Well, you focus on improving your training processes. You become that consultant that you need to be for your team, because you're gonna know a lot of things that they don't, right? So our responsibility is not to be an expert at every single aspect of or phase of the business. It's not that. There's a lot of people who are going to be way better at the menial things, the little things, the detail-oriented things. For example, I'm horrible at those things. However, I have the overall big picture, right? So I can step back and take that 50-foot view of what's going on in my business and come in as a consultant, come in and empower people at an individual basis. If they're going through a mindset shift where I don't know, they're feeling out of whack, that's where I come in. If they need to fine-tune their processes, I step back and I have the ability to see that from a 50,000-foot view again. So focusing on training programs and improvements that empower them and help them become better individuals altogether, right? So if you have trainings, you can come in and add additional trainings that are out of the norm. For example, personal growth type of stuff. Apply that sort of, do not be afraid of empowering and helping your team grow. If they leave, they leave. However, I guarantee you're gonna pleasantly find that most people just want to belong somewhere and they're not interested in stealing your ideas and starting their own stuff. Most people are not that way, right? So also, another thing is let them know your goals. It's your responsibility to create a vision for the company, right? And have direction. Let them know what that direction is. I'm not talking about your own personal aspirations and your own, vision board and that kind of stuff. I'm talking about the company goals, right? Like that space. How far does it go, and can you bring them in to improve it, to make it better? Can you bring in their talents to make it easier to get to that end goal, right? When people have buy-in, they will go the extra mile because they feel like they belong. So think about that kind of stuff. Bring them into the overall vision of the company. All right, so those are a couple of ways to tell whether you're exploiting your team or you're empowering your team, okay? And I feel it's worthy of clarification. So again, make sure you like, subscribe, and share the video. If you like the content that I'm putting out there for you guys every single week, help me out, help me spread the word. I'll catch you in the next one. Stay focused. You got this.